Real Estate with Champions Real Estate Team here at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Ambassador Real Estate Company. My name is Mark Wehner II, team leader at Champions Real Estate Team. So every Wednesday we jump on here, kind of touch base on what's gone on in the real estate market over the last week. As always, joining me is Russ Williams with Williams Mortgage. He'll kind of give us the insight of what's going on in the mortgage industry. Let's get rocking and rolling. So don't take up too much of your time, but I appreciate everyone joining us. Either you're watching us live or you're checking us out at a later time. So on any of our platforms, feel free to comment. If we don't get to them as we're live, we will get to them as soon as possible shortly after, or reach out to us. So as you can see here, just pulled up on your screen. So the latest market activity over the last 7 days, we had 353 new listings go live, and we had 208 new contracts written, so houses that went pending. And then we had 722 sold homes this last week. So I had to double check that number and refresh the stats on the MLS, but that is the number, folks. We had 722 brand new homeowners this last week, which is, when I went back and looked at my notes, that's the most that I have seen probably this year, at least until April, that I can see on my notepad here. The next highest was 698. So I think everyone's got their Christmas wish of getting a new house out there for those that wanted it. So, but that's exciting for everybody out there. As we see, kind of coming up, we'll look at the 30,000 foot view, and then I'll kind of summarize what I think, the market is doing. So looking at the big picture of it, so active MLS listings in the Omaha and Lincoln MLS is just 1,461. Breaking that down more closely into the Omaha marketplace is 738, existing homes 317, and then new construction basically has been hovering around that 430 number probably for the last couple months. So obviously those homes are probably spec homes, or they haven't really, nothing's really come and gone off the market from the new construction side of it. Months of inventory, just under a month supply of inventory. The average sold price hasn't really changed much since last week, so we're at the 293. So last week we had about 1,500 homes on the market in that process of it. So ticking down a little bit on the supply side. Excuse me here. Yeah, so I was going to touch on what's going on in the marketplace. So looking back at the existing marketplace, with only 200 contracts written this last week, we had 353 new listings go live. And the previous week, about 320. So we had less listings, or more listings going live than we do have contracts written. So what does that mean? Obviously, simple mathematics. We have more houses on the market for you to look at than were taken off the market for going under contract. So from a buyer's perspective, great opportunity to get out there and find a house, because there's not as much buyer pool, buyers in that buyer pool. And as we talk later with Russ, we'll talk about the mortgage rates that are, they're still pretty low competitively. But all indications with the Feds last week saying they're going to raise rates 3 times next year. That's more on the short-term rates, but how does that affect our long-term rates with the mortgage-backed securities, mortgage bonds, that aspect of it? And they also said they're going to be tapering buying those mortgage-backed securities, which in turn is going to, in all likelihood, increase the mortgage rates. But like I said, with the inventory out there, I think some people kind of obviously putting the brakes on a little bit with the holiday season. Oh, we'll get through the holiday season, and then we'll go gangbusters in the middle of January to get the house going. Well, if you want a house, now is the time to stay the course, and either get your financing in order with Russ and know exactly what you're going to do. We touched on, everyone's coming up on the new Year's resolution. So let's start now before we get to everyone else and beat the crowd. Same thing on the listing side. I've met with a couple of clients this last week or so about getting the houses ready, and they're kind of, well, we have to buy something. I'm like, well, there's a lot of buyers out there right now that are willing to wait, let you find a house. So let's get the house on the market. When there's not a lot of homes on the market, as we know, before you get the gangbusters of all the houses blowing up in the spring, and you're still going to get a very good price for that house, get it at an affordable price, because you're going to jump in the buyer pool on the flip side, with less competition out there to go find your next house. So it's just kind of, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? You put the house on the market, you find a house, that's all stuff that, we can individualize your game plan for you, when you're looking at that home buying, home selling process, and what makes sense for you. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I think going over all that kind of fun stuff, but we'll touch base here with Russ. I know I kind of, pinpointed a couple of different topics that we haven't really touched on, the Feds raising the rates, tapering of the mortgage-backed securities, New Year's resolutions, all that kind of fun stuff. So I guess, what are you kind of seeing on the mortgage side? That's your area of expertise. Like I say, I know enough to be dangerous, but
You bet. The mortgage side is still very strong. Just as you pointed out, the Fed has spoken, and because of the inflationary pressures, they've announced that their intent is to have 3 short-term increases in interest rates in 2022. That's for things like credit cards, student loans, auto loans, all that kind of stuff, home equity loans. Mortgage rates are driven by long-term bond markets, and that's where the tapering comes into play that you'd mentioned. The Fed has also announced that the taper that they had planned to end sometime in the middle of summer, basically, they are expediting that to end the taper much quicker. And what that normally would mean is that interest rates are likely to start moving up more quickly than what they previously were maybe projected to move up. The wild card here in the last few weeks has been Omicron. And Omicron has had just enough of a rattle in the marketplace that we've seen interest rates stay down regardless of the Fed's announcement of tapering. So there is a window here. And to your point, Mark, wow, 700 plus sold homes. This is still a hot market. For those of you that think people don't do real estate during the winter, think again. You need to get out there now and buy a house before the spring market if you can, if that's your intent. So I highly encourage you to have a plan to get together with Mark's team and not only get your home ready to sell, because people are buying right now, but also be ready to purchase a new home before you see your borrowing power erode as spring comes around.
Yeah. And that 722 sold houses this week. Those are all the people that got the houses in the November that wanted to get in the market before, the snow flew, which, we have only had really one snowstorm really. And I think winter basically is delayed. But yesterday was winter solstice. So every day now we're getting a minute longer, every day is getting a little longer as we go forward. But I think that's where you had that big push. And we saw a lot of obviously pending contracts, which is going to correlate with that. But now people are kind of hitting the pause button. Well, like you said, I mean, if you're ready, willing, and able, now's the time to keep going. I'm working with a couple of clients now that we're going to keep, the foot on the gas pedal to find something, out there for them. And like you said, winter months, is a great time to buy and sell because, as a seller, you can almost name your price, sometimes. And then as a buyer, you can also negotiate, getting a home warranty or getting, repairs done on a home inspection. When comes spring, or even in the summer months, some of those things you have to negotiate pretty darn hard to do it, because there's people out there that are, I don't need a home inspection, which I highly, recommend getting a home inspection. You're buying $100,000, $250,000, $500,000 investment. You need to know what you're getting into in that side of it. So I think, it's a great time to buy and sell, through the new year. And if the New Year's resolution is to get a house next year, the time to talk about it is now, not when you see something online that you're like, hey, Mark, I want to go take a look at this. Well, have you talked with Russ? Do you have a plan? Where's your, your initial investment, your down payment coming from? How's your credit? And all of a sudden that house that you loved, is going to somebody else because we don't have our ducks in a row or have a game plan for you. So that's why I'm having a lot of conversations now with past clients. They're reaching out to me saying, hey, we got a lot of equity built up into our house. What should we do? Should we move up? Interest rates are low. If their family size is growing or shrinking, kids are moving out, what do we do? Well, is now a good time to buy or sell? Well, let's sit down and talk about it. Like you said, there's not a uniform game plan for everybody, and maybe that, as I said, a conversation, does it make sense to keep that house as a rental because rental prices right now are pretty high. So you can capitalize on getting some passive income. If you got $100,000 in equity, if you got $100,000 in equity, from what Russ is telling me, you can pull about 75% out on a cash out refi. So you got $75,000 to go put down on your next house, keep your current home as a cash flow, maybe a couple $100 depending on what the rental market is in that area for that particular house. Does that make sense? Let's chat, in that regards to help build that that rental, wealth portfolio for you. So there's many different avenues of it. So, do you have anything else you wanted to touch on?
I think that's it. I wish everybody very happy and safe holidays and healthy holidays.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I heard on the, it's supposed to be like 59 or 49 degrees on Christmas or something.
Something like that.
Yeah. Hey, it's a great time to go look at houses, right? No.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I appreciate everyone, checking in on us and listening to us, and hopefully give you some valuable information. Like I said, if you have any other questions, comments, give me a holler, 402-672-7670. Give Russ a holler, 290-8936. And let's get a game plan. If home buying is in your future, or you want it to be in your future, whether it's this year or even the following year, let's sit down and chat and get you on a path to home ownership and not paying, exorbitantly high rent prices and paying somebody else's mortgage. And if you have a house, let's maybe keep that as a rental so you can capitalize on some of that rental income as well, and building that equity in that house, and you're providing a great house for somebody to rent as well. So, but as always, appreciate you listening. Any questions, like I said, give me a holler, give Russ a holler, and have a great holiday, safe holiday, and safe travels to anyone that's out venturing around. And looks like hopefully we'll have some nicer weather. So take care, and thank you again. And I will talk to you guys again